Hello, thank you for tuning in to this video. I, Richa Mehta, a professional placement trainer, welcome you to the second video of this series where we are learning what things to keep in mind while preparing for the most expected questions of an interview. We will be discussing a total of 12 frequently asked questions in this series of 3 videos. So now, in continuation from the first video, let's start discussing the next 4 questions here. Now we have identified these 12 areas as the key preparation areas from which the answers to such questions can be framed. So we need to have well introspected data ready in all of these areas before we start framing our answers. Going to the first question for today. What are your other interest areas? By which the recruiter may mean apart from academics and work experience, what are the other areas that interest you? This answer can come from extracurricular activities. So you can highlight which extracurricular activities you have taken part in, which can show how dynamic as a personality you are. Next is achievements. You can highlight all your non-academic achievements in this answer. Next is hobby. If you have been pursuing any hobby or if you are a part of any social activity, this is the place to mention it and be prepared for the questions. Next is current affairs. So if you are a well-read person and if you know everything about a particular area, let's say a politics or sports, you can mention that and then be ready for the questions. Next is, why is your academic record inconsistent? So yes, with profiles having ups and downs in the academic record, this question is expected. We cannot change our academic record, but we may have few things in our profile which we may highlight over here to justify our inconsistencies. First is certification. So if you have been pursuing any certifications during your curriculum, you can mention that and that may justify to a little extent why your academic record had been a bit low. Extracurriculars, so if you have been actively taking part in lots of extracurricular activities during your curriculum, you can mention that. Next is achievements. If you have had significant achievements in your non-academic areas like your extracurriculars, you can mention that. Next is hobbies. If you have been pursuing your hobbies really closely and if you have reached a good level in that, this is the place where you can mention it. And last would be dips in resume. So if you have had any year gaps during your academics due to some genuine reasons, this is the place you can mention it. Just make sure that you don't sound very casual about these inconsistencies. Try to justify it with real reasons. Next question, what is your biggest achievement? So this answer can come from your work experience area. So if you have achieved any targets or any promotions during your work experience, if you have got any awards, recognitions, this is the place you mention it. Internships or projects. So if you have been offered a PPO during your internship, that would be a great achievement to tell here. Academics. If you have got any achievements in your academics like winning a scholarship or being in the top 10% of your batch during any level, this is where you mention it. Now, achievements apart from work and academics can also come out from your extracurricular activities or your hobbies. So, if you have achieved anything in your hobby for your personal interest, so for example, if I am a adventure activity enthusiast and if I had a personal goal of doing a non-tandem skydiving and I did it, that's an achievement. The last question for today would be, what is your biggest failure? Now, this answer can come from areas like, let's say, work experience. if you fail to achieve any targets during your work experience, or your small mistake led to some issues in your project, this is where you can mention it. Internships projects similar to work experience, if your performance in internship somewhere was not very much up to the mark, you can mention it. Academics, so somewhere if you have a bit of high low in your grades in academics, this is where you can mention it. Extracurriculars, so let's say if you were not able to take part in a lot of extracurriculars with your curriculum, you can mention it lightly. Hobbies, so let's say if you were not able to pursue your hobby to the best while balancing it with your curriculum, you can mention it. Next would be weaknesses. If you would like to mention any personality weakness which has some illustration with it, this would be the question. Next is dips in resume. So somewhere if there is some inconsistency in your resume with respect to grades or with respect to year gaps, that can be one of your failures you can mention. Please make sure that whenever you are talking about the failures, you are as mild as possible. Do not emphasize on the failures a lot. So these were the questions we had to discuss today. If you want to discuss any of these questions personally based on your own profile, this is where you can reach out to me, richamehta.2302@gmail.com. You can also follow me on these social media handles to know more. If you have liked this video, if you found this content helpful, please subscribe, like, and share this video. Thank you so much for watching.